Did you know that over 95% of the universe is still unknown to us? So what would you think if I told you that a 33 billion ton object just disappeared from NASA radar right before our eyes and no one knows where it went? Stick around, because what happens next will blow your mind. Now, we're faced with something no one at NASA really saw coming. The interstellar traveler known as 3I Atlas, the third confirmed visitor from outside our solar system, has done something that shakes the foundations of everything we've ever understood. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of Atlas 3I and want to see more amazing cosmic stories, hit that like button and let the universe know you're watching. Every click helps continue our journey into the unknown. It didn't drift slowly into the darkness, silently disappearing like countless other objects before it. No, it vanished cleanly, suddenly, and completely right after reaching perihelion, the crucial moment when it is closest to the sun. One moment, it was a precisely tracked 3 billion ton spaceship hurtling through space. The next, it was gone. No trace, no señal, no reflection, nothing. You see, our most powerful instruments have been waiting for this moment. The telescopes are aligned, the data feeds are ready. This is supposed to be the moment of maximum visibility when solar radiation will cause 3I Atlas to shine brightly in the night sky like a beacon. Instead, what astronomers saw was the exact opposite. Empty space. And here's the really worrying thing. This wasn't some random disappearance lost in the background noise of the universe. It happened at the exact moment people expected the object to exhibit its strangest behavior. A moment we'd circled on the calendar, calculated down to the second. For months, scientists around the world studied its speed, orbit, and strange hollow structure. They watched it behave in unbelievable ways, and then, just as its mysteries were supposed to be revealed, it vanished, as if with perfect timing. Treasy. Atlas didn't just pass us. It passed us. It disappeared on its own, leaving the most exquisite instruments ever created by mankind staring into space. And that silence was louder than any signal we could hope for. Stay tuned, because what happens next will blow your mind. If you are fascinated by the mystery of Atlas 3I and want to see more amazing cosmic stories, hit that like button and let the universe know you are watching. Every click helps keep the search for the unknown going. Comment below and let me know where you are watching this from. I want to see where in the world is witnessing this with me. October 29, 2025 is the moment scientists around the world have been waiting for, when 3I Atlas will reach perihelion, gliding past Mars as if performing a final ritual before the sun. No one sees this as just a technical milestone on an orbital chart. It is a fateful test, a moment when every telescope on Earth and in space will lock onto its view, ready to witness something that could change human perception. According to the familiar laws of physics and thermodynamics, any comet that hits the hell around the sun will be heated, expanded, and shattered into countless pieces, leaving a brilliant streak of light sweeping across the void, a scene that has been recorded by humanity countless times. But 3I Atlas, a rare interstellar object, completely breaks all known laws. As it sank behind the sun, disappearing into the predicted sunset, researchers prepared for the moment when it would reappear brighter, more chaotic, perhaps even shattered, but certainly still alive. But what happened next was a cold silence. It did not return. The James Webb Space Telescope scanned every calculated degree. Ground-based radar scanned the darkness as if searching for the breath of an invisible entity. The European Space Agency's tracking arrays pointed exactly where it should have appeared, but found nothing. The 33 billion tons of mass, traveling at breakneck speed, had vanished without a trace of spectrum or heat, a total disappearance that defied all known physical models. Scientists are wondering, is this an unrecorded natural phenomenon, an unsolved anomaly of cosmic mechanics, or has the 3I Atlas touched on a mystery that humanity is not yet ready to face? Scientists initially thought 3. I Atlas had broken up, leaving behind only a dust cloud, so faint it was undetectable. But a dead comet leaves a trail. Dust, debris, a trail that lingers for weeks or months. This time, it was completely empty. No dust, no debris. Not even the slightest ray of light. This was not due to a malfunction or a miscalculation. 3I Atlas disappeared at the exact moment it entered the solar eclipse. A coincidence so eerie that it seemed to deliberately choose the moment when all telescopes failed. The Hubble Space Telescope is sensitive enough to detect objects smaller than a block of flats from enormous distances. If Atlas broke apart, the tiniest fragments would be visible, but the data returned a stark, empty void, where 33 billion tons of matter should have been drifting along a predictable orbit. The orbital error hypothesis also fails. For months, 3 Atlas's velocity, position, and acceleration have been measured with near-perfect precision, all gravitational, radiation pressure, and relativistic effects have been taken into account. A deviation large enough to obliterate the object from view is something that nature could not produce. What is more frightening is the other conclusion. The object did not disintegrate, it did not drift, it did not fade, it moved or disappeared in a way that could not be explained by natural processes. As 3I Atlas passes behind the sun, it falls into the deepest part of the gravity, where the Oberth effect allows even the slightest nudge to dramatically alter its orbit. If it has any form of propulsion, however weak, perihelion is the perfect time to trigger it. With just a little push, it could leave the solar system or move into an orbit that science has never imagined. The fact that 3I Atlas disappeared at a time when all observational equipment was blacked out made the event all the more suspicious. When the observation window reopened, the object had completely vanished, not fading, not slowing down, just vanishing as if into nothingness. The last feeling that remained was cold. 3I Atlas seemed to have waited for the moment when the world could no longer see it. And if its disappearance was the result of a deliberate choice, then what passed behind the sun that day was probably more than just a comet wandering the cosmos. October 3 marked a special moment in 3I Atlas's journey. The object performed a near-perfect flyby of Mars, just 18 million miles from Earth. Statistically, that's a rare event with a probability of less than 1 in 50,000. In astronomical terms, that's the equivalent of threading a needle from more than a mile away, while both the needle and the person who threw it were traveling at thousands of miles an hour. It wasn't just luck, it was a near-perfect opportunity to observe and collect data. The Orbit 3I Atlas allowed it to glide close enough to Mars for exploration while also using the planet's gravity as a subtle course correction. When you put this event in the context of the entire sequence of events that preceded it, the picture becomes even more remarkable. The unusual deceleration near the sun, the exploitation of the Oberth effect at the deepest part of the gravity, and the flyby of a planet that once supported life. Each detail could be seen as a coincidence, but when put together, They form a seamless, consistent pattern that suggests a clear purpose. The image of a rock drifting through space faded. Instead, 3. Atlas's journey appeared like the trajectory of a traveler following a predetermined path with precise sequential steps. And then, just as all telescopes turned to the sky to continue monitoring, it disappeared in silence, like an artist leaving the stage after the last performance, leaving a sense of shock and chill in its wake. When the object disappeared, the reaction from space agencies around the world followed a familiar pattern, one that has repeated itself in the history of observing interstellar visitors. NASA issued a cautious statement stressing that it needed more data and time to analyze it. The European Space Agency acknowledged the observational gap, but played it safe. The object may have fragmented. Meanwhile, China, which has a favorable observational position from its orbiters around Mars, chose to remain silent. This is not new. When the first interstellar visitor was discovered years ago, some radar and spectroscopic data was withheld for months before being released. The second visitor went through a similar process with 3I Atlas. The delay was even more pronounced. The flow of information was curtailed. Reports were routed into restricted channels, and official statements became so guarded as to reveal almost nothing. Many experts dismiss this as mere bureaucratic formality or scientific caution, but for some researchers, it reflects a deeper reality. The bewilderment of institutions when faced with phenomena that don't fit into any familiar patterns is not a conspiracy, but a fear of the unexplained. No one wanted to rush to use the word artificial. No one wanted to spark panic or set a precedent for unfounded speculation. So they waited, watched, and kept quiet. But in that silence, a sense of unease began to build. When the answer did not come, its absence became a vague but weighty affirmation. And now that silence is louder than ever. It ripples through observatories, across space agencies, and across international communications, as if everyone is avoiding something no one wants to name. The disappearance of 3I Atlas has gone beyond the realm of an inexplicable phenomenon. It has become a question too big, too vague, too unsettling to be asked. 3I Atlas has not just left the sky, it has dragged the truth with it into a dark place that no one seems brave enough to enter. Even after the object had disappeared from view, the telescopes continued to monitor it, and in that silence, something subtle began to emerge. A faint, rhythmic signal hidden in the background. No, not a broadcast as science fiction would have it. No message or distant voice, just a faint vibration like the echo of an invisible train passing in the night. Astrophysicists at several independent observatories discovered the anomaly at roughly the same time. It was a slight modulation in the reflected radiation from the sun, suspiciously regular and too structured to be ignored. At first, they attributed it to an instrument error, but the phenomenon persisted. It continued in cycles, stretching from day to day, then weeks, moving through frequency bands as if it were tracking something beyond the range of direct observation. Official space agencies made no announcement, but internally, emails and coded messages began to circulate. A few researchers, cautiously but firmly, acknowledged what many others feared. The signal did not fit any known natural phenomenon. It was not a comet tail, not decaying dust, and not a disturbance in the interplanetary medium. It was something else. It's not a signal you'd expect to see It's rhythmic, structured, and seemingly intentional, or at least it feels that way. Some have compared it to the famous wow signal of 1977. Others, more cautiously, have suggested it could be a new form of interstellar reflection, a signal left behind unintentionally by an object's movement. What gave many experts pause was the perfect coincidence. The signal began at the exact moment 3I Atlas disappeared. It was as if it had left a signature on the electromagnetic fabric of space, a final trace that disappearance doesn't mean the end. It suggested that there was still something out there just harder to see, dimmer, and much more subtle. As word of the signal spread through the scientific community, the official response was swift. NASA held a carefully prepared press conference explaining that the modulation was likely the result of residual solar radiation and instrument interference. The statement was delivered calmly, cautiously, and with a certain dismissiveness to the speculation that was circulating. The European Space Agency issued its own statement in a nearly identical tone. It mentioned routine data anomalies, stressed the importance of not jumping to conclusions, and quietly moved on to other missions. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't what they said. It was the perfect synchronization of their words. Different agencies, different continents, but the same language, almost line for line. But then China went silent. No confirmation, no denial, just an absence that made the concocted explanations all the more puzzling. Independent researchers, however, are not convinced. A group of radio astronomers leaked some of their raw data to private networks, showing that the pattern doesn't match any known noise signature. It's not random or noise, it's something else. And so a war of narratives began. On one side, organizations call for calm and patience, offering polished explanations. On the other, a growing number of scientists and observers whispered that the truth was being suppressed, not out of malice, but out of fear of what it would mean to acknowledge the signal. Because if the modulation is real, if it really is coming from 3I Atlas, then this isn't just an object disappearing. It's a split-second interaction where maybe something out there has noticed us, noticing it, and no agency seems willing to speak up about that idea. Behind the denials and reassuring press releases, something strange began to happen. Observatories around the world abruptly changed their schedules, canceling long-established observing windows without explanation. Government research satellites quietly pointed their sensors at the same region of space where the 3I Atlas satellite disappeared. No one explained why, but it was clear that some agencies still believed there was something worth watching. Meanwhile, private observatories began detecting faint flashes of light near the original orbit, not strong enough to be considered a reappearance, but strange enough to keep scientists up at night, running simulations. It wasn't a meteor. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't the familiar optical signal. It was like trying to track a shadow that never stayed still. What they recorded was not a single object, but a wispy streak of light made up of many small, seemingly meaningless anomalies, but together they formed a path, a direction of movement away from the inner solar system, as if something had deliberately changed its trajectory. Not drifting like debris, not disappearing like dust, but moving with purpose. Oficial agencies remained silent. But independent observers began to realize that what had once been a mystery was perhaps no longer a single object. It was now a phenomenon spreading according to laws no one could explain. 3. I Atlas may have disappeared from sight, but its trail was growing clearer, like a message continuing to spread through space. And it is at this point that predictions and conspiracy theories begin to flourish, especially in the United States, where space competition is becoming a key strategic battleground. Many U.S. analysts believe that 3I Atlas has not disappeared, but has activated a form of stealth technology that only advanced civilizations possess. Some national security experts in Washington even suspect that U.S. intelligence agencies have collected important data and kept it secret to gain an advantage over China and Europe in the race to master deep space. Rumor has it that a NASA station in California picked up a strange signal at the exact moment the 3I Atlas satellite disappeared, and the data was immediately transmitted to highly secure Space Command channels. From there, a series of theories arose. Was the United States trying to hide the biggest discovery in history? Or were they racing to decipher a technology that did not belong to humans? Some experts have even proposed a more daring hypothesis. 3I Atlas may be observing our reactions. And as superpowers, especially the United States, step up their deployment of weapons, probes, and space surveillance networks, the untimely disappearance of an interstellar object has become a focus of attention, leading many to wonder, is it deliberately avoiding humans? In a new space race where the United States is determined to maintain its lead, 3I Atlas has inadvertently become the focus of strategic suspicion. The fear is not where it is going, but who is tracking its journey and which country will be the first to grasp the truth. Perhaps Atlas 3I left no message. But perhaps its appearance and disappearance are a warning that humanity, even a superpower like the United States, may not be the only species observing the universe. So what is the ultimate lesson from all of this? The real lesson of the 3I Atlas mystery is not just about a vanishing object. It is a powerful and humbling reminder that we are not masters of the universe. We are just beginners looking into an ocean of nothingness. It teaches us that the universe is stranger, more complex, and perhaps holds more intelligence than our rule books admit. The greatest discoveries are often not the answers we get, but the questions that leave us speechless. What do you think happened to the Atlas 3I? Did it break down? Did it use the sun to navigate? Or was it something else entirely? Leave your theories in the comments below. We'll read them all. And if you enjoy exploring the universe's greatest mysteries, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an update.